Diary of Wimpy Kid, Rodrick Rules by Jeff Kinney. I guess Mom was pretty proud of herself for making me write in that journal last year, because now she went and brought me another one. But remember how I said that if some jerk caught me writing a book with diary on the cover, they were gonna get the wrong idea? Well, that's exactly what happened today. Now that Rodrick knows I have another journal, I better remember to keep this one locked up. Rodrick actually got a hold of my last journal a few weeks back, and it was a disaster. But don't even get me started on that story. Even without my Rodrick problems, my summer was pretty lousy. Our family didn't go anywhere or do anything fun, and that's Dad's fault. Dad made me join a swim team again, and he wanted to make sure I didn't miss any meets this year. Dad's got this idea that I'm destined to be a great swimmer or something, so that's why he makes me join this team every year. At my first swim meet a couple of years ago, Dad told me that when the umpire shot off the starter pistol, I was supposed to dive in and start swimming. But what he didn't tell me was that the starter gun only fired blanks. So I was a whole lot more worried about where the bullet was going to land than I was about getting myself to the other end of the pool. Even after Dad explained the whole starter pistol concept to me, I was still the worst swimmer on the team. But I did end up winning Most Improved at the awards banquet at the end of the summer. That's only because there was a 10-minute difference between my first race and my last one. So I guess Dad's still waiting for me to live up to my full potential. In a lot of ways, being on a swim team was worse than being in middle school. First of all, we had to be at the pool by 7:30 every morning, and the water was always freezing cold. And second of all, we were all crammed into 2 lanes, so I always had somebody on my tail trying to get around me. The reason we had to use 2 lanes was because swim practice was at the same time as the water jazz class. I actually tried to convince Dad to let me do water jazz instead of swim team, but he wouldn't go for it. This was the first summer the coach let us boys wear swim trunks instead of those skimpy racing trunks. But Mom said Rodrick hand-me-down bathing suit was perfectly fine. After swim practice, Rodrick would pick me up in his band van. Mom had this crazy idea that if me and Rodrick spent quality time on the ride home every day, we wouldn't fight as much. But all it did was make things a whole lot worse. Rodrick was always half an hour late picking me up, and he wouldn't let me sit up front. He said that the chlorine would ruin his seat, even though the van is something like 15 years old. Rodrick's van doesn't actually have any seats in the back, so I had to squeeze in with all the band equipment. And every time the van came to a stop, I had to pray that I didn't get my head taken off by one of Rodrick's drums. I ended up walking home every day instead of getting a ride from Rodrick. I figured it was better just to get the 2 miles than to get brain damage riding in the back of that van. Halfway through the summer, I decided I was pretty much done with swim team, so I came up with a trick to get out of practice. I'd swim a few laps, and then I'd ask the coach if I could use the bathroom. Then I'd just hide out in the locker room until practice was over. The only problem with my plan was that it was something like 40 degrees in the boys' bathroom, so it was even colder in there than it was in the pool. I had to wrap myself in toilet paper so I didn't get hypothermia. That's how I spent a pretty big chunk of my summer vacation. And that's why I'm actually looking forward to going back to school tomorrow. When I got to school today, everybody was acting all strange around me, and at first I didn't know what was up. Then I remembered. I still had the cheese touch from last year. I got the cheese touch in the last week of school, and over the summer I completely forgot about it. The problem with the cheese touch is that you've got it until you can pass it on to somebody else. But nobody would even get within 30 feet of me, so I knew I was going to get stuck with a cheese touch for the whole year. Luckily, there was a new kid named Jeremy Piddle in homeroom, so that took care of that problem. My first class was pre-algebra, and the teacher put me right next to Alex Rodrick, the smartest kid in the whole class.